This is a ViewSonic VX3380, a 4K 10-bit IPS 60Hz 43-inch monitor, and of course I love it. I actually use it as my TV with the PlayStation 4, but I was using it on my desk for a while. Seeing games so large was amazing, but 4K is too demanding, and it was actually too big for gaming up close. It got me thinking though, what would be the perfect size monitor? When I went back to 27-inch, it was just too small, but I did like the 1440 resolution. I figured about 32-inch would be perfect, so I contacted ViewSonic. They told me to wait, and this is why. This is a ViewSonic XG3240C, 1440p, 144Hz, VA curved screen gaming monitor, and it's almost exactly what I wanted. I had some concerns, but after use and some tests, this is by far my new favorite. Just quickly, this is what you get in the box. USB and DisplayPort cables, along with a power supply, the base, and the screen attached to the stand in portrait. This is what it looks like from the back, an opening for cables, and a place to put your headphones. 2 USB ports on the left side, and a good distance in so you won't have cables poking out like on other monitors. Extra 2 USB ports underneath, and on the other side, 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, 1 display, and there are also 2 6-port speakers. It has just one multi-directional button for the menu, which I'll get to later. The stand swivels, tilts, rotates, but I don't think the height adjustment is enough to allow for that. And this is what it looks like next to a 27-inch. From my talks with the community, they seem to prefer 24-inch, because they can see everything on screen without having to turn their heads, which would mean taking their eyes off the action. And that's fair enough, but I haven't struggled with this one at all. What I have found is that I can see enemies in the distance easier, and I don't have to have the monitor super close to me. Looking at the UFO test, on faster it has some shadowing behind them, which you can get rid of by putting it on fastest. But in game, that created some purple shadowing which was really distracting, so I'm leaving it on faster. And speaking of response, this is meant to be 4 millisecond, and I'm not going to claim to be an expert, but I set it up against a 27-inch 1440 1 millisecond monitor, and then I duplicated the displays, so both are showing the same thing at the same time. This caught me by surprise, but the 32-inch actually updates a tiny bit faster. It's not something you'd notice in real time, but going through the footage, it's clear there's more delay on the BenQ XL2735. That's with dynamic accuracy switched off, because I couldn't record it otherwise. I tried setting both as the main monitor, but every time the 32-inch was faster. So by my testing, this isn't only a more fun experience, it's actually better for fast-paced gaming. And when put up against the ViewSonic XG3209-2K, which is a 27-inch 144Hz 4 millisecond IPS type panel, the 32-inch is still a tiny bit faster, but I have to slow it right down to see the difference. And back on the 32-inch, it actually has FreeSync, which seems to work well. It's not something that I usually use, but it's good to have it if you have an AMD card anyway. Here's a look through the menu and my settings. I haven't got it set up perfectly. I just did it based on what I wanted to see at the time, but a lot of people asked to see my settings, so here they are. I lowered the color saturation a little, it looked too vibrant to me. The rest is mostly on default, except I did mess with the colors to somewhat match the VX3209. The speakers on it are quite loud. This is at 50% volume. And when I tried to speak over it at 100%, you could barely hear me on the mic. So this is me trying to talk over the music. I'm actually speaking pretty loudly, so it gives you a general idea of just how loud it is. I'm really not that quiet. I don't know what people actually expect from monitor speakers, but I'm more than happy with these. It seems to handle reflections quite well. I have a bright LED lamp that I'm moving around, and I can barely make it out on the screen. Haven't had trouble viewing anything during the day either. As for light bleeding, moving around a little, it looks fine to me. Might be a few slightly brighter spots, but it's very consistent. It's hard to show on camera of course, so don't take this as accurate. And the viewing angles seem really good. And from above and below, not quite as good, but still decent. In-game, really enjoy playing on it. By far my favourite monitor I've ever had. The size is ideal in my opinion. I can see everything just fine, don't have to move my head much, can stay on top of everything, and most of all, it really keeps me in the game more. It's more immersive. The same reason people want bigger TVs is why I wanted a bigger monitor. As I said earlier, you can have too big, but 32-inch seems to have a great balance. I also tried the HDR functionality with the PlayStation 4. There's a difference with it set off and on by the monitor, but disabled on the PlayStation actually looks best. So maybe I did something wrong, but either way, playing without it, the games look amazing. If you have a PlayStation 4 with your computer, this is still a great experience, even without the 4K resolution. Now for the VX3209-2K. I always have 2 monitor setups now, because it really helps with editing. That's also why I wanted an IPS panel. So this is a bit of a budget solution, in the sense it doesn't have many extras. The stand isn't adjustable, but it can be wall mounted. The cables are white, but aren't very long, so I had to use a black one. It has multiple menu buttons behind the screen, which are hard to deal with, but as usual you only have to set it up once. Of course the viewing angles are excellent, and the colors and sharpness are great. Basically it's just a good no-frills monitor, especially if you wanted a 32-inch IPS 1440p. It's only 60Hz, so not really a gaming monitor. It's just what I wanted to accompany the 3240C. Another reason I wanted 2 monitors of this size and resolution is so I could test them next to each other. Obviously the IPS has better colors and viewing angles, but it also has clearer text, not that it shows on camera. I've heard this is an issue on curved screens, and this one is not an exception. If it wasn't for having an IPS next to it, I probably wouldn't have noticed, and it's fine to use, doesn't bother me. But if it's just a matter of having a flat screen, I would actually rather that. And that brings me to the conclusion. Other than the slight blur on the text, and maybe the curve, this is my favorite monitor so far. Everything about it seems right, and as I said, it's just so much fun to play on. I was surprised by the performance, but because the IPS type panel actually did compete with it, I would still prefer that. Until they make that though, if I could only buy one monitor out of the ones that I've tested, this would be it. Absolutely love it. But of course it's personal preference and everyone needs to find what's right for them. Me personally, 144Hz, 2K resolution, fast response, VA panel, and about 32-inch. This is amazing. If you do get one of these, leave a comment below. I would be interested to hear other people's gaming experiences, because I actually felt I could aim better. Just felt more solid and like shots were easy to hit. I assume it's because the enemies are easy to see at this size. I'll leave the usual links in the description if you want to help support the channel, and a big thanks to ViewSonic for sending these monitors out for review. Subscribe, like and share this video, and I'll catch you in the next.